Hello and welcome to all. Their names were Legolas, Frodo, Aragorn, Galadriel. These are the names of the characters from the famous fantasy saga The Lord of the Rings. Many actors who played in this trilogy of Tolkien have seen their careers jump afterwards. Do you know, for example, what happened to Elijah Wood, Viggo Mortensen, Cate Blanchett, or Orlando Bloom? By watching this video, you will discover what these actors and many others did after the release of The Lord of the Rings. You may remember Orlando Bloom's wonderful performance in The Lord of the Rings, where he played the role of the elf Legolas. In this film, the British actor revealed his talents as an arrow shooter, a discipline for which he still seems to be good many years after the release of the film. But the period of The Lord of the Rings seems to be over for Orlando Bloom. Certainly, the actor has continued his career by playing characters in films no less remarkable than the film series that revealed him. We can also mention The Hobbit, in which he took over the role of Legolas. And of course, we cannot forget his performance in Pirates of the Caribbean, another Hollywood success that marked his film career with a white stone. However, if there is a role for which Orlando Bloom is fully dedicated today, it is the role of Dad. That's right. The 45-year-old actor, who already has a son with Miranda Otto, has a daughter named Daisy Dove that he had in August 2020 with the American singer Katy Perry. For the actor, family responsibilities comes first, at least for now. Viggo Mortensen is undoubtedly one of the greatest actors in this world, and his interpretation of the character of Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings will remain an indelible memory in the minds of many fans of the film series. But fans of Viggo Mortensen should probably know that the actor has played a series of roles following The Lord of the Rings. And even if these roles were not as brilliant as the one of Aragorn, they did not fail to make the career of the actor with Danish origins shine, who is nominated 3 times for the Oscars. This, Mortensen explains it by one thing: commitment. Well, when he commits to a film, Viggo Mortensen puts in the work, and this ability has never wavered in him, regardless of the roles he has played since The Lord of the Rings. Whether he is a driver and a bodyguard in Green Book or a father in Captain Fantastic, Viggo Mortensen plays his roles with a rare passion. No one will be able to forget the one he incredibly and passionately played in the fantasy trilogy that revealed him to the public. Miranda Otto had perhaps the greatest opportunity of her career when she played in The Lord of the Rings, by being offered the role of Arwen by the director of the trilogy, Peter Jackson. The Australian actress, who already enjoyed a great reputation in her native country, saw her career leap. And to think that Jackson had chosen her as a second choice after Uma Thurman, who was the director's first choice, had refused the role. Years after the release of The Lord of the Rings, Miranda Otto will again take on this role that fits her like a glove, but this time it will be by lending her voice to the character of Arwen in the animated film The Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, scheduled for release in 2024. Miranda Otto's fans will be able to hear the voice of their favorite actress in this promising animated film. Dominic Monahan, alias Meriadoc Brandybuck or Merry, had a role that was not the least in The Lord of the Rings. After the release of the last opus of the saga, the British actor, who was born in Germany, has not been idle. He has played a number of roles in other successful films and series such as Lost, X-Men Origins, Wolverine, Mute, and Star Wars Episode 19, The Rise of Skywalker. But you should know that Dominic Monahan has several strings to his bow. Indeed, in addition to playing roles in films or series, the 45-year-old actor also contributes as an editor for a magazine that deals with music and culture. Alternately, actor and writer Monahan has also become known as a producer. He is credited with the documentary series Wild Things with Dominic Monahan, released in 2013, 2014, and 2016, in which the actor introduces many wild animal species. You may not know it, but Dominic Monahan is above all a great nature lover. How can we talk about The Lord of the Rings without mentioning Gollum, the famous character with the atypical appearance obsessed with the One Ring? The character played by Andy Serkis did not leave the viewers indifferent, and his interpreter either. The British actor even kept a very precious souvenir of the shooting period, the One Ring, or rather one of the many One Rings that had been made for the film. It is true that Andy Serkis's performance in The Lord of the Rings will remain memorable for fans, but after the release of the film, the actor landed other roles as captivating and memorable as Gollum's, such as the role of Caesar in Planet of the Apes or Kong in King Kong. However, Andy Serkis has remained, dare we say, faithful to The Lord of the Rings. Years after the release of the movie, the famous Tolkien novel was released in audio version, and guess who is the reader? Andy Serkis, of course. A flashback that allowed the great actor to relive a particularly joyous time and to revive very good memories that have remained and will remain forever engraved in his memory. Among the main characters of The Lord of the Rings, there is of course the elf Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, played by the British actor Hugo Weaving. The latter played in the three opuses of the trilogy, after which he resumed his role in the film series The Hobbit, then in the 3 editions of the video game The Lord of the Rings, released in 2002 and 2006. The one who became known internationally for his performance in films such as The Interview or the Matrix trilogy has shown that he could be very comfortable in various roles. Something he has perfectly demonstrated by playing the role of a fantastic character, but it seems that the character of Elrond belongs to the past for Hugo Weaving. Indeed, as he has already hinted in the past, the actor did not take back this role for the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime Video, preferring to move on. This is what ended up disappointing the fans of the elf Elrond, but such is the choice of Hugo Weaving that we could perhaps see soon in a very different role, so we can only wish good luck to the Lord of Rivendell. Elijah Wood began his career at an early age in film and television. While he was still a child, the young prodigy played some film roles that have marked his career. Remember, for example, his role of Huck Finn in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, or that of Mark Evans in The Good Son alongside Macaulay Culkin. But his greatest film role will undoubtedly remain that of the Hobbit Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. This role, Elijah Wood played it in the 3 opus of the saga, then he took it again in The Hobbit, but also in the Lord of the Rings video game version. We can also say that this role was made to measure for the young actor. That's right, for many fans, the actor interpreted his character in a remarkable way, so that it is difficult to imagine someone else than him playing the role of Frodo Baggins, or to imagine Elijah Wood playing another role than the one he wonderfully interpreted in the saga. Yes, but when you're an actor, you like to vary the roles that suit you, and that Elijah Wood knows perfectly. That said, the actor did not say no to other roles that were offered to him after The Lord of the Rings. In the years following the release of the trilogy, Elijah Wood has indeed played in many films and TV series. His talent is recognized in particular in his interpretation of the role of the depressed ex-lawyer Ryan Newman in the American television series Wilfred. And then, his career also includes some contributions in the world of cartoons, since the actor has also lent his voice to characters of animated series. Well, we can say that the young actor has not been idle since The Lord of the Rings. In The Lord of the Rings, Cate Blanchett is Galadriel, an emblematic, fascinating and striking character, who naturally found herself in The Hobbit, to the delight of fans of the Australian actress. You may not have known it, but in the novel on which this film is based, Galadriel didn't really have a starring role. But at the request of director Peter Jackson, Cate Blanchett found herself in the skin of her character again for this new trilogy. However, the adventure ended for the actress after The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, released in 2014, which does not mean the end of Galadriel. Indeed, the character returns in the series The Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime Video, in a younger version though. In this series, Galadriel is played by the Welsh actress Morfydd Clark. Everyone remembers Saruman, the evil magician in The Lord of the Rings. The character was played by the British actor Sir Christopher Lee, the same one who had become known many years before for his magnificent interpretation of Count Dracula. The actor, who is known for his roles as villains and antagonistic characters, had also played the role of Francisco Scaramanga in one of the opuses of the James Bond series, The Man with the Golden Gun. Sir Christopher Lee was known for his remarkable talent, especially in horror films, but also in fantasy films like The Lord of the Rings. After the release of the trilogy, he turned for other films including The Hobbit or Star Wars, for which he was chosen to interpret the role of Count Dooku in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But all things must come to an end, as they say. After a long film career and legendary roles that have marked the history of cinema, Sir Christopher Lee died on June 7, 2015 in London. He was 93 years old. Martin Circus, also known the elf Celeborn, the Lord of the Lothlorien in The Lord of the Rings, is a New Zealand actor who has rolled his hump in the theater and in many films and series before responding positively to the proposal of Peter Jackson. The one who plays the husband of Galadriel has remained very active, since he has multiplied the roles in other films as notable as The Lord of the Rings. We can mention, for example, Kingdom of Heaven, Equalizer, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, The Last Duel, Juniper, and many other films where Ahsoka has had the opportunity to meet again on the sets of some of his former comrades of The Lord of the Rings. It should also be said that the career of this actor has been very successful after the trilogy. Years after the release of The Lord of the Rings, Martin Circus still continues to meet a great success. And to finish, we are going to tell you about a character who probably didn't leave you indifferent if you watched The Lord of the Rings. You remember the beautiful Arwen, don't you? Of course you do. Admit that she is one of the most emblematic and touching characters of the saga, and that the actress Liv Tyler had a lot to do with it. The charm and talented acting of the actress has indeed made Arwen one of the most outstanding characters of The Lord of the Rings. But it seems that the time of Arwen and The Lord of the Rings is now history for the 45-year-old American actress. Many would even say that the one who had brilliantly embodied her character in the fantasy saga is now only the ghost of herself, because the young woman has become simply unrecognizable. The reason? Her appearance, which is not the same at all. Those who could meet her in the street or see some of her photos circulating in the media will tell you that she has changed a lot since the release of The Lord of the Rings. That is to say, about 20 years ago. Of course, how can one remain the same person during all these years? Now, tell us in the comments, do you know what happened to the other Lord of the Rings actors who are not in this video? Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.